So now that we have all our data here, all we have to do is put together those control charts. So let's start with the X bar chart. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my samples, I'll hold Control, select my range, and so there's my X values, there's my Y values. We will go Insert into the XY scatter, and we are going to start it just as dots. So that is my average ranges there. Before we do anything, let's just make this a proper chart. So let's change this chart title. We will call this the mean chart. So this is our X bar chart. And we will add our axes titles and give them units. So up and down, this is call time in minutes. Can't forget the units. And then down here, this is the sample number. You need to spell it right. We don't need units on sample because they're not required, and let's trim this axis. Format axis, we don't need to go any larger than 5, so we will just have everything going on to there. And actually, since this goes into half minutes here, if we want a little bit of white space at the end, let's make that 5.5. And so there we go. And so that way it doesn't run right up against the thing there. Notice that, it actually put negative 0.5 as the other one, so I want to force that to be 0 because I don't want it overlapping the axis. And so now we're going to need to put in our upper and lower control limit line, and we could put in the average line too. So we can just take care of that pretty easily. So let me put a black line here just to distinguish the data. And so I want to, actually we're going to have upper lower control limits. So I'm going to get 3 boxes there. And I am just going to put a thick outside box around them. Now the thing is we only need 2 points to make the line. And so but I'll just fill them all in. So we've got, once again, actually we've already got the average there, so I only really need 2. Oh wait, no, the average is down there. So average, upper control limit X, lower control limit X. And so we'll just come over here and we'll grab our average mean. We will grab our upper control limit. We will grab our lower control limit. And actually you can see they come in, because these are forced to be whole numbers, they're actually not. Just make everything 2 decimal places. Okay, so we can just take those. I can drag those down. And then we're going to add those to our chart here. So I'm going to right click, select data. I'm going to add a series. And I could have done this. On the next one, we'll just do it all in one pick. So series name, this is going to be the average. X values are our sample numbers, our Y values are the average there, and we hit OK. And then we're just going to do that 2 more times. Actually, let's go to here, edit, let's give this a name. We'll just call this, actually we don't want to, we'll call this the sample. That's what it is. There we go. Sample average. And let's add, we're going to add our upper control limit. X values are once again the sample numbers, and the Y values are the upper control limit. And then one more time, we're going to add the lower control limit. X values, so what goes along the x-axis is the sample number, and those Y values will be the lower control limit. And then I'm going to hit OK. And so there we go. Let's move this to its own sheet and pretty it up a little bit. So we're going to go to Move Chart, New Sheet, Chart 1, and we'll rename this as Mean Control. Okay. Now, so left in this format, this is a little bit on the confusing side because what we have are just plain dots. We want to make lines. So let's go to our graph. So we right click on it and go change chart type. I'm going to change it into that combo chart. And so for our sample, which is our data points, we want to leave as X values. For our average, we want to go and just smooth line, no markers, and then actually, yeah, smooth line, no markers, and then XLC, smooth line, no markers, smooth line, no markers, just so they're all the same. Get rid of all the secondary axis, so it's all on one axis, and then hit OK. And then once again here we can change things up. One second here. And since we're just dealing with samples, there's no reason to have a 0 here. Got changed when we put the extra lines in. No reason. We can get rid of the 6 too. So let's just right click, format axis. Let's run that from 1 to 5 because we are just dealing with sample numbers. And then right click here. I don't need to right click here. Just go to the paint bucket. We'll change that to, we'll just leave that aligned there. We'll just change it to gray for the lower control limit. We'll do the same thing for the upper control limit. Take it to that, that blue-gray, and then the average. We're going to have the average in. I like having it in as dashes there. Okay, so as we look at the mean control, we can see that the process seems to be in control. This one's getting towards the top, but if you keep looking at data and if it came back down, there's not a problem, but it seems it's within the control limits. Okay, let's go back to our model. I want to do the same thing for the range. And so we'll come over here and mean range. It's actually what I should have called this here is, I can't really call it the mean. We'll just leave it as, and we'll change that to mean. Go back here. Yeah, one thing I forgot is let's put our legend in, because you always want the legend. And actually let's see what options do we have. We want it to overlap the chart, and we'll just move this. Grab the wrong thing. Fortunately, I can just undo. Let's just grab this one. If we can actually grab this one, I'm having an issue here. There we go. I'm going to move it down here in the corner where there's nothing. Now, there's still those lines going through. I want to get rid of that. So if we go to Format, Format, and then Shape Fill, fill that in with white. So it looks a lot better. Actually, we can also come to the paintbrush here, and let's put a border around it. So solid line. There's some black line there so it stands out. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, mean is better. And let's go over here to the model. We're going to do the same thing. So mean range, upper control limit range, upper control limit, lower control limit R for range. So same kind of thing. So we're going to do mean range. We'll come pick up here our average range. Upper control limit, we'll pick the upper control limit. And then our lower control limit, pick the lower control limit. And since we put those range names in, we can drag those down. Not a problem. And they will all go. And so we have our values here. We're going to make the range control graph. And I'm going to make this a little bit easier on myself. So let's insert 2 columns here, because I want to bring over the average range of sample. That way I can just grab it all at once really easy. Since I don't want to copy the data, I'm going to equals, because I want, if anything changes with that other data over in our calculation, I just want it to be brought over here into our little graph. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the sample. I'm actually not going to grab the title of the sample, because sometimes Excel can be a little bit screwy, and if I have that title at my X value when I have multiple lines, sometimes it does some weird stuff, and I just want to make sure that it's not going to do anything weird. And actually we can merge those, and we can call this range control chart. I can do the same thing over here, just to kind of point out this is the mean control chart. So we can just go, oh, that's the data for just the chart. I'll finish those black boxes out. Okay, and so now we're going to go insert. We're going to go to, oh, we go to XY scatter first, we can still populate it, but I want to make it easier. So let's just select all that, go XY scatter, and you can see, look, it popped it in. It actually put in our legend for us on the beginning, so that is great. And we can go and change, well, that's range in minutes. Seems like it's saying range min, like minimum. So we'll just, I'm just going to actually change this to range. There we go. And then mean range, that is the mean range, that's fine. So let's go and move to chart, let's drop it in its own sheet, and we'll call it range control. We'll just do it right here. Hit OK, and so there's our range control. Let's make a couple changes. First, let's fix the axis. We want it to go from 1 to 5 because we have those 5 samples. And we're going to do the same thing as we did before. So paintbrush, going to go to a combo chart because we want those lines. So change chart type. We're going to go to combo. Range, we want in just data markers, mean range, smooth line, and smooth line on the XY scatter. Get rid of the secondary axes. Hit OK. Now we have to fix this again because that always changes. So we want that to run from 1 to 5. And so now I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Here's my average. I'm going to go to the paint bucket, and we're just going to change that to a dashed line up here. That one seems to be fine. Let's just make sure it's that color. Come down here, and we're going to change it to that same blue-gray. And so there we go. There's my upper and my lower control limits. I have my legend down here. If we want to make it like the other one, we can go don't overlap. We can grab this and drag it onto the chart. Make it more square. And then we will fill it in. So border, solid line, black, fill, come in there. So the reason I do that is you don't want these grid lines overlapping anything. You want the words to be all clear. And another reason I like putting the range control. I like putting the legend on the graph because you can see it made it bigger. It opened up space. Now we don't have half samples, so let's go back here, format axis, major units. We'll just have as ones, and so that way it only shows the different samples. Okay, so we've built these. Let's go look at them. Mean control, as we said before, that one's in control. That point, it's not worrisome now because it's still within control, but if there were more and the other ones were trailing up here, that'd be something to look at. But as of right now, mean looks in control. Might have something to cause for concern, but it's still within control. And then range control, no problem at all. Well within control on the dispersion. And so there we go. There's a full range and mean control charts. And in the next video, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to bring it into Tableau. So I'll see you guys then.